You are enough. Learn to love yourself. A whisper from within. There is a quiet voice inside you. You might have heard it once, maybe in the stillness of an early morning, or when the world around you went silent just long enough for it to be heard. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It waits. It is patient, gentle, and incredibly powerful. Most of us go through life without listening to that voice. We fill our days with noise, our thoughts with doubt, and our hearts with expectations that don't truly belong to us. But even so, the voice never leaves. It waits for you to remember. For many, the journey to self-love does not begin with fireworks or some grand moment of realization. It starts small. A sudden tear in a quiet moment. A question whispered to yourself when you are most vulnerable. Why don't I feel like I'm enough? The question hurts, but it also cracks open a door you never realized was locked. On the other side is a life that feels softer, freer, and more honest. That's what this journey is, about not becoming someone new, but remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of judgment, fear, and performance. When we're children, we instinctively love ourselves. We don't apologize for taking up space. We laugh loudly. We cry when we're hurt. We reach out for what we need. But over time, the world teaches us to shrink, to quiet ourselves, to wait for permission to feel worthy. We learn that love has conditions, and those conditions become rules we start to live by. Be thinner, be quieter, be more successful, be less emotional, be more like them. And before we know it, we've lost touch with the unshakable sense of worth we were born with. But here's the truth. That sense of worth never really left. It's still within you, buried beneath years of self-doubt and trying to be enough for everyone but yourself. You don't have to earn your worth. You don't have to prove it. It is inherent. It is your birthright. And this journey, this exploration of your inner world is your return to it. Sometimes, the reason it's hard to love ourselves is that we're afraid of what we might find when we really look inside. We fear that we'll discover something unlovable, something broken. But self-love is not about discovering perfection. It's about embracing your whole self, even the parts you've tried to hide, especially those parts. Because those pieces of you, the ones that have been shamed, ignored, or rejected, they're often the most tender, human, and worthy of love. To begin this journey, you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan. All you need is a willingness to turn inward, to be honest with yourself, to hold space for the parts of you that have been silenced. Self-love is not a destination. It's a way of being, a daily practice, a decision you make over and over again to treat yourself with the same kindness, patience, and acceptance you've so freely given to others. Listening to that whisper from within means giving yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to ask, what do I need right now? It means tuning in to your own rhythms, trusting your gut, and honoring your feelings even when they're inconvenient or uncomfortable. It means knowing that your needs matter, that your voice counts, and that your experience is valid. One of the most important parts of learning to love yourself is learning to be with yourself. Not in the distracted way we often are, scrolling through screens, rushing through tasks, or numbing our emotions, but in a deeply present way. Sitting with your thoughts, your feelings, and your body with openness and curiosity. There is so much wisdom within you if you only stop long enough to hear it. Of course, it's not easy. We live in a world that constantly tells us we are not enough. Advertisements are designed to make us feel like we're missing something. Social media compares our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. We are bombarded with messages that say, if you just buy this, lose that, fix this, you'll finally be happy. But what if you didn't need to be fixed? What if the only thing you needed was to reconnect with your inner truth? To stop running, stop pleasing, stop performing, and start simply being. When you begin to listen to yourself, really listen, you'll start to notice patterns. Maybe you'll see how often you criticize yourself, or how quickly you dismiss your own needs. You might recognize how much energy you spend trying to be accepted by others. These realizations can feel overwhelming, but they are not a sign that you're failing. They are the beginning of waking up. Awareness is the first act of love. When you see your patterns clearly, you can begin to choose differently. You can pause before you speak to yourself harshly. You can ask yourself whether that expectation is really yours or someone else's. You can start to show up for yourself the way you wish others would. It's not about being selfish, it's about being whole. So many of us have confused self-love with arrogance or vanity, but true self-love is quiet and humble. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about knowing that you're not less, that you belong, that your presence matters. It's about being on your own side. Self-love doesn't mean you always feel good about yourself. It means you don't abandon yourself when you're struggling. It means being able to sit with your own pain without judgment. It means treating yourself like someone you're responsible for caring for. Imagine if you could talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a dear friend. What would change? You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not your worst day or your loudest critic. You are the one who made it through. You are the one who's still standing. You are the one who's choosing to show up and try again. That is courage. That is worth. That is enough. This first step is just about showing up, bringing curiosity instead of judgment, softness instead of shame. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just have to begin. Let this be your moment. Let this be the day you say, I'm done waiting to be enough. I already am. The shadows we carry. We all carry shadow parts of ourselves we try to keep hidden, even from our own reflection. These are the pieces of our identity we've deemed too painful, too shameful, or too flawed to accept. Sometimes we bury them so deep that we forget they're even there, but they never truly disappear. They linger in our thoughts, show up in our reactions, and color how we see the world. The journey to loving yourself begins not by denying these shadows, but by turning toward them with compassion. From childhood, we absorb messages about what is acceptable and what isn't, what earns us love and what gets us rejected. We learn which emotions are safe to express and which ones will lead to disapproval. We begin to split ourselves, putting only our acceptable parts on display and hiding the rest. This fragmentation creates an internal war. We become afraid of our own emotions, terrified of failure, and convinced that if anyone truly knew us, they would walk away. But the truth is, these shadows are not evidence of your unworthiness. They are simply the wounded parts of you that have not yet been loved. The anger you suppress? It might be a signal that your boundaries have been ignored for too long. The sadness you hide? It might be mourning all the times you weren't allowed to feel. The fear you pretend doesn't exist? It might be trying to protect a younger version of you who was once deeply hurt. There's a reason the path to self-love often begins in the dark, because in that darkness lies your deepest truths. It is where your authenticity waits. And only by facing what you fear can you begin to reclaim all the pieces of yourself. Shadow work is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming whole. Many of us have internalized the belief that to be loved, we must be perfect. We wear masks and armor, trying to present a curated version of ourselves that won't scare others away. But underneath the surface, we're exhausted. We're longing to be seen, not the version we perform, but our raw, unfiltered selves. And yet, we're terrified of rejection. This tug-of-war between authenticity and acceptance is one of the greatest sources of pain in our lives. Here's the paradox. Real, love-deep, transformative love can only happen when we allow ourselves to be fully seen, and we cannot be fully seen until we are first willing to see ourselves. The shadows we carry are not our enemies. They are messengers. They show us where we need healing, where we need grace, where we need to stop running and start embracing. Ask yourself, what parts of you do you try to hide? What feelings do you judge most harshly? What mistakes still haunt you? What do you believe about yourself that you would never say to someone you love? These questions may bring up discomfort, but within that discomfort lies the doorway to freedom. Because when you are no longer afraid of your own story, you become free. Forgiving yourself is one of the most powerful acts of love you can offer. Many people carry the weight of past decisions like chains around their hearts. They relive every misstep, punish themselves with regret, and believe they must suffer to be worthy of redemption. But self-forgiveness is not about excusing harm, it's about recognizing your humanity. You did the best you could with the awareness, tools, and pain you had at the time. And now, you know better. Now, you can choose differently. The process of healing your shadows requires honesty. You have to be willing to sit with the parts of yourself you've tried to erase, to listen to what they have to say, to ask, "What do you need from me now?" Often the answer is simple: love me, see me, don't abandon me again. It's easy to love ourselves when we feel strong, productive, and successful. But can you love yourself when you're hurting, when you've failed, when you're not at your best? That is the real test. And that is where the real magic happens. Imagine what would change if you stopped fighting yourself. If instead of shame, you met your shadow with tenderness. Instead of criticism, you offered understanding. You are not broken. You are becoming. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every flaw is a doorway to empathy. Every shadow is a reminder that you are a complex, evolving human being. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. You are allowed to feel pride and pain, joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability. You do not have to choose between your light and your dark. You are both. And when you embrace all of who you are, you unlock a deeper, richer experience of life. It's important to recognize that your shadows don't just affect your relationship with yourself, they impact every relationship you have. When we are disconnected from our own wounds, we project them onto others. We become defensive, avoid intimacy, or chase validation from people who cannot give it. We sabotage good things because we believe we don't deserve them. We repeat old patterns not because we enjoy suffering, but because they are familiar. Healing requires disrupting these patterns. It means noticing when your reaction is really a reflection of old pain. It means slowing down and asking, is this about now or is this about then? It means choosing to respond with love instead of fear. You don't have to do this alone. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is ask for help. Therapy, journaling, support groups, trusted friends, these can all be tools in your healing journey. There is no weakness in needing others. Connection is one of the most powerful medicines for the human soul. The more you face your shadows, the less power they hold. What once triggered shame will begin to evoke compassion. What once felt unbearable will become a source of strength. You will begin to understand that your pain shaped you, but it does not define you. Your wounds are not proof of failure, they are evidence of your resilience. This part of the journey is not easy. It requires courage, patience, and an unwavering commitment to your own wholeness. But the reward is immense. When you are no longer at war with yourself, you become rooted, grounded, whole. And from that place of wholeness, you can begin to truly love not only yourself, but others. You deserve a relationship with yourself that feels safe. You deserve to trust your own heart, to speak to yourself kindly, to walk through life with the unshakable knowing that no matter what happens, you will not abandon yourself again. That is the essence of self-love. That is the gift of shadow work. You may always carry your shadows, but now they no longer control you. They walk beside you, not behind you. And in their presence, you find wisdom, compassion, and a depth of love you never knew was possible. You are enough, even with your shadows, especially with your shadows. Let them be your teachers. Let them lead you home. Echoes of doubt. There is a sound that rings louder than any shout, deeper than any silence. It's the echo of our own doubt, often quiet, sometimes roaring. Doubt has a way of sneaking in when we least expect it. It doesn't always enter with a bang. Sometimes it whispers in the middle of a triumph, as if to say, "Are you sure you deserve this?" It creeps into the corners of our self-perception, growing like ivy on old walls, wrapping itself around our sense of worth and trying to choke it. These echoes don't come from nowhere. They are born from moments that taught us not to trust ourselves, perhaps the disapproval of a parent, the ridicule of a classmate, the heartbreak of a failed relationship, or the sting of rejection in any form. Each moment of pain builds a layer of doubt, a tiny crack in the mirror we use to see ourselves. Over time, those cracks distort the reflection until we start believing we are broken. But doubt, while persistent, is not a truth-teller. It's an illusionist. It takes what is small and makes it seem immense. It hides what is bright beneath shadows of fear. And the tragedy is that we give it so much power. We feed it with our insecurities, our past experiences, and the comparisons we make to others. Every time we tell ourselves we're not enough, we strengthen its voice. But that voice is not you. It's a compilation of external messages absorbed and replayed so many times that they sound like your own. Recognizing this is the first step in reclaiming your identity. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are not the worst thing you've ever thought about yourself. You are the awareness behind those thoughts, the one who is capable of observing, questioning, and ultimately choosing which voices to believe. We live in a world that profits off our insecurities. Every ad, every influencer, every image on a screen is designed to make us feel like we are missing something, that we are not beautiful enough, successful enough, productive enough. The more we feel lacking, the more we consume. This external noise amplifies the internal doubts we already carry. When we allow these messages to define us, we hand over the keys to our self-worth. And slowly, we stop hearing our inner voice. Instead, we begin to perform for approval. We try to earn love by being perfect, by achieving, by pleasing everyone around us. We wear masks, each one heavier than the last, and convince ourselves that if we just work hard enough, we can outrun the feeling of inadequacy. But you can't outrun something that lives inside of you. You can only face it. Facing doubt doesn't mean silencing it completely. It means learning to hear it, acknowledge it, and choose differently. It means building a relationship with yourself where compassion replaces criticism, where curiosity takes the place of shame. Ask yourself where your doubt began. Whose voice first planted the seed? What experiences taught you to turn against yourself? These questions may be painful, but they are necessary. They open the door to healing, and in that healing, you begin to rewrite the script. You begin to speak to yourself not as an enemy, but as a friend. You begin to understand that confidence doesn't come from never feeling doubted. It comes from knowing you can survive it. One of the most powerful practices in dismantling doubt is to stop comparing. Comparison is the thief of joy, and yet we do it all the time. We scroll through curated lives on social media, forgetting that we're comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. We measure our worth against others' timelines as if success and happiness were a race. But there is no finish line in self-worth. Your journey is yours alone. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time. When you stop comparing, you start appreciating. You start noticing the small victories, the quiet strengths, the unique way you move through the world. And those moments, those realizations, are where confidence begins to grow. Another way to counter doubt is to collect evidence of your worth. Make a list of times you were proud of yourself. Think of moments where you showed up with courage, where you were kind, where you made someone's life better. These are not small things. They are reminders that you are already enough. Keep this list close. Read it when the echoes grow loud. Let it be a mirror that reflects your strength, not your flaws. And remember, worth is not something you earn. It's something you recognize. It's already there, like the sky behind the clouds. Doubt often disguises itself as self-protection. It tells us not to try, not to speak up, not to love fully, because if we do, we might fail, get hurt, or be rejected. But safety isn't the same as peace. Staying small may feel comfortable, but it also keeps you stuck. Growth requires risk. It asks us to step outside the lines we've drawn for ourselves. And while that may feel terrifying, it's also where life happens. Every step forward is a declaration that you are more than your fear. Every act of self-trust, no matter how small, is a rebellion against the lies that have held you back. You may stumble. You may hear the echoes of doubt even as you move forward. But that's okay. Progress is not the absence of fear, it's the choice to keep going anyway. And the more you practice this, the quieter the doubt becomes. Not because it disappears, but because your belief in yourself grows louder. Your inner voice, once drowned out, begins to rise. And it speaks not in shouts, but in steady truths. You are worthy. You are whole. You are enough. Healing from self-doubt is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's choosing kindness over criticism, presence over perfection, courage over comfort. Some days will be easier than others. On the hard days, let yourself rest. Let yourself feel. And when you're ready, begin again. There is no rush. There is no judgment. Only the gentle reminder that every step you take toward yourself is a victory. You've already come farther than you think. Every time you questioned your doubt instead of believing it, you healed. Every time you spoke kindly to yourself, you transformed. These moments matter. They add up, and together they create a life rooted in self-love. So the next time doubt echoes in your mind, pause, listen, then answer back with truth. Speak the words your younger self longed to hear. Tell yourself the things you wish someone had told you. Let your voice be the one that finally drowns out the noise. You are enough, not because of what you've done or how much you've achieved, but because you exist. That is the truth. Everything else is just an echo. Gathering the pieces. Healing rarely happens all at once. It's not a dramatic revelation under starlit skies or a single moment that shatters the pain and leaves peace behind. Instead, healing is often a quiet process like gathering tiny fragments of a shattered mirror, cutting your fingers as you piece yourself back together, deciding that even if your reflection is imperfect, it's still yours. This is the tender, unglamorous work of reclaiming your wholeness. It takes patience, gentleness, and the kind of love you probably learned to offer everyone else before you ever thought to offer it to yourself. There's something courageous about choosing to begin again with yourself. Not just brushing past what hurt you, but facing it. Not pretending you're fine, but deciding that you want to be. That decision is the spark. It's what brings you to this place where the scattered parts of you wait to be seen, not discarded, but gathered. This process isn't about going back to who you used to be. It's about meeting yourself where you are now and making peace with all the versions of you that have lived through different kinds of storms. So much of your inner dialogue may have been shaped by what you were told or shown by family, by partners, by teachers, by a culture that often profits from your insecurity. When you've been conditioned to think your worth is something you need to earn or prove, it can be disorienting to learn that it's always been within you. You might find yourself asking, then why do I feel so broken? That question itself is part of the healing. The pain you feel is valid. It points to what matters. It's not weakness to feel deeply. It's humanity. There's no formula for how to put yourself back together. For some, it starts with silence, giving yourself the space to hear your own thoughts without judgment. For others, it's speaking up for the first time, allowing truths to rise that were long buried. Maybe for you, it begins with forgiveness, not for the people who hurt you, but for yourself. For the things you didn't know then, for the ways you abandoned your own needs to please others, for the years you spent chasing approval instead of looking inward. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing mistakes or denying responsibility. It's about recognizing that you've always done your best with the awareness, strength, and tools you had at the time. You were surviving, you were trying, and now you're growing. Growth isn't neat. Sometimes it looks like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Sometimes it looks like crying when you thought you'd already cried all there was to cry. It can be messy and raw and exhausting. But growth is sacred, and each time you choose not to give up on yourself, you strengthen a foundation that no one else can shake. This is how you start building self-trust, not through perfection, but through presence, through staying. One of the most radical things you can do in this life is to stay with yourself, to sit with your discomfort instead of numbing it, to explore your emotions instead of judging them, to gently ask, "What do I need right now?" and then actually listen. Often, what we need isn't complicated. It might be rest. It might be a boundary. It might be a moment of kindness. But these things are not always easy to give ourselves, especially when we're used to putting others first. Gathering the pieces of yourself requires reclaiming your voice. It means learning to identify your own needs, desires, and boundaries without filtering them through someone else's expectations. It means allowing yourself to be seen, not just the polished, curated version, but the full spectrum of your being. Your joy, your grief, your awkwardness, your strength, your uncertainty, your courage, all of it. You deserve to be seen in your wholeness. This reclamation is also about unlearning the lies you've internalized, that your worth depends on your productivity, that your beauty is conditional, that your emotions make you weak, that your softness is a flaw. None of these things are true, and yet they've shaped so much of how you've related to yourself and the world. It takes time to untangle from them. It takes conscious effort to replace those beliefs with ones that affirm your dignity, your inherent value, and your right to exist exactly as you are. That's why small acts of self-love are so powerful. They aren't frivolous or indulgent. They are declarations. They say, "I matter." Whether it's preparing yourself a nourishing meal, turning your phone off to rest, saying no to something that drains you, or celebrating a win without minimizing it, these moments are how you gather the pieces. They are how you build a relationship with yourself that's rooted in care instead of criticism. You might also notice that as you begin to show up for yourself, you start seeing others differently too, with more compassion, with clearer boundaries, with an awareness that you're no longer willing to betray your own needs just to be accepted. This shift can be liberating. It can also be lonely. Because healing sometimes means leaving behind roles and relationships that were built on the version of you that didn't know how to say no, who feared being too much or not enough. Letting go is part of the gathering. It creates space to redefine love on your terms, space to find your own rhythm, space to remember who you are without all the noise telling you who you should be. This is not easy work, but it is worthy work. And it leads to freedom. Freedom to speak without apology, to rest without guilt, to live without needing to constantly prove your worth. That kind of freedom doesn't come from achieving or accumulating, it comes from returning to yourself. Over and over again, with gentleness, with honesty, with the quiet knowing that you don't need to be fixed, because you were never truly broken. You only ever needed space to be. The pieces of youth, the messy, beautiful, complex parts are not mistakes. They are you. And as you gather them, what you'll find isn't a perfect image, but a living mosaic, a story of resilience, a truth that says, "I am whole, even in my becoming." You don't need anyone's permission to feel that truth in your bones. You only need the courage to keep gathering, to keep coming home. Perfectly imperfect. We spend so much of our lives chasing perfection, even if we don't realize that's what we're doing. It starts in small ways, the way we adjust our voices to sound agreeable, the way we flatten parts of our personality so we can fit into someone else's idea of who we should be. We tell ourselves that if we can just be a little better, a little prettier, a little more successful, a little less emotional, then maybe we'll finally be accepted. Maybe we'll finally feel whole. But the pursuit of perfection is a race with no finish line, and the more you run toward it, the farther away it gets. You start to realize that perfection isn't a destination at all, it's a trap. And the cost of chasing it is your peace, your presence, and eventually, your self-worth. Somewhere along the way, we learn that flaws are things to hide. Mistakes are things to be ashamed of. Vulnerability is something to avoid. But in truth, these are the very things that make us human. And more than that, they're the things that make us beautiful. There's something deeply courageous about being imperfect and showing up anyway. It means you've chosen to live fully, rather than to stay small and safe. It means you've decided to be real, even when it's messy. You were not made to be flawless. You were made to be whole. There's a difference. Wholeness embraces contradiction. It acknowledges the light and the shadow, the strength and the softness, the times you soared and the times you stumbled. Perfection says you must have it all together to be worthy. Wholeness says you are worthy, period. Even when you're still figuring things out, even when you're healing, even when you're grieving or lost or afraid. Your worth is not conditional upon your performance, your achievements, or your appearance. It simply is. Still, letting go of the perfection myth isn't easy. It means confronting the parts of yourself that you've tried to silence or change. It means unlearning the praise you've attached to being the good one, the strong one, the quiet one, or any other identity that required you to edit who you are. It means forgiving yourself for not being who others wanted you to be, for the times you fell short, for the times you said yes when you meant no, for the ways you abandoned yourself just to be liked or loved. But here's the truth. You don't need to become perfect to be lovable. You don't need to be flawless to be enough. The people who truly see you and love you for who you are will never ask you to shrink. And the love you offer yourself, deep, patient, honest love starts when you stop waiting to be perfect. Real growth happens when you stop striving for perfection and start practicing acceptance. That doesn't mean you stop trying to be better. It means you change your reason for growing. You no longer grow because you think you're not good enough. You grow because you already love yourself enough to become everything you're meant to be. That's a quiet, powerful shift. And it changes everything. It changes how you talk to yourself when you make mistakes. Instead of harshness, you offer understanding. Instead of shame, you offer curiosity. You ask, what can I learn from this? How can I show up differently next time? What do I need in this moment to feel supported? That's self-compassion. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. And it's the foundation of real transformation. Imperfection invites connection. When you show others your true self, not just your highlight reel, but your doubts, your quirks, your realness, you give them permission to do the same. That's how intimacy is built, not through pretending, but through presence. When you are unapologetically yourself, the people who are meant for you will find you. And the ones who can't hold space for your imperfections were never meant to be part of your inner circle. Let them go. Protect your peace. Choose relationships where your humanity is celebrated, not merely tolerated. Your imperfections are not obstacles, they are invitations. Invitations to deepen your self-awareness, to lean into grace, to understand that you are a work of art in progress. And progress is a beautiful thing. Think about nature. No tree is perfectly symmetrical, no mountain without jagged edges, no ocean always calm. And yet, you never doubt their beauty. Why should you doubt your own? The idea of being perfectly imperfect is not a contradiction. It's a reminder that your authenticity is your most powerful attribute. Perfection is sterile, unrelatable, and exhausting. But imperfection? It's alive. It's real. It's where your story lives. The mistakes you've made, the lessons you've learned, the scars you carry, the dreams you still dare to believe in, these things make you who you are. And they are not liabilities. They are gifts. If you can begin to embrace the parts of you that you once tried to hide, you'll discover a new kind of confidence, one that doesn't rely on approval or applause. It's quiet but unwavering. It doesn't shout. It simply stands in its truth. That's the kind of confidence that can't be taken away from you, because it was never built on the shaky ground of external validation. It was built on your own inner knowing. So yes, you have flaws. You've made mistakes. You've felt fear, jealousy, regret, longing. You've said the wrong thing. You've stayed too long. You've left too soon. You've doubted yourself. You've wanted more. All of that, every bit of it, is part of your becoming. And none of it disqualifies you from being worthy of love, respect, joy, and peace. If anything, it makes you more human, more relatable, more whole. There is a quiet revolution in choosing to love yourself, not in spite of your imperfections, but because of them. It means you see yourself clearly and still choose to stay. It means you no longer demand perfection to offer kindness. It means you have stopped being your own enemy and started being your greatest ally. To live this way, to truly believe in your enoughness as you are, isn't something that happens overnight. It's a daily practice, a choice. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it feels impossible. But if you can come back to this truth again and again, that you are already enough, even as you grow, even when you fall short, then you are on the path to something unshakable. You are becoming your own home. And that, dear one, is everything. Mirror talk. There's a strange kind of silence in the moments you stand in front of a mirror, not just to brush your teeth or adjust your clothes, but to really look at yourself. Most people rarely meet their own gaze without rushing to critique something. A blemish, a wrinkle, a scar, the way the stomach curves or the skin folds. We don't even realize how quickly the inner voice rises, not in kindness, but in judgment. And over time, that voice becomes the filter through which we see everything about ourselves. Mirror talk, for most people, isn't just about appearances. It becomes a reflection of self-worth. You weren't born looking at yourself through a lens of inadequacy. That was learned. Maybe someone pointed out your flaws before they ever celebrated your strengths. Maybe someone made you feel like your body was something to be fixed, or your personality was too much or too little. Maybe the media showed you thousands of images of how you were supposed to look, behave, succeed, and you internalized the idea that until you measured up, you weren't worthy. So you began to armor up, smiling more, talking less, hiding your softness, trying harder, punishing your reflection instead of offering it grace. But the mirror has always been a neutral thing. It doesn't judge you. It simply reflects back what you believe about yourself. And if what you see hurts, it's not the mirror, it's the words you've inherited, absorbed, or believed without ever questioning. What if you stood there and tried something different? What if instead of looking for what's wrong, you searched for what's right? Not in a superficial or fake way, but in a gentle, honest, deeply compassionate way. Mirror talk is a sacred conversation. It's the place where you get to rewrite the script. You can meet yourself each day with the kindness you've always extended to others but withheld from yourself. You can say, "I'm here. I see you. You've been through so much and you're still standing. You are not broken, you are becoming." These are not just affirmations, they are acts of self-respect. And they matter. The face you see in the mirror has held tears you never let fall in public. It has smiled through pain, endured sleepless nights, carried silent battles, celebrated quiet victories. That body has been your companion through every moment of your life, every heartbreak, every moment of awe, every new beginning. It has stayed with you even when you've spoken to it with cruelty. And still, it has never given up on you. What if you stopped trying to perfect it and started thanking it? What if you made peace with the body you live in, not because it looks like someone else's, but because it's your sand, it's worthy of love as it is? The truth is, your reflection doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be befriended. Mirror talk becomes transformative when you start seeing yourself not as a problem to solve, but as a soul to care for. You're not a project, you're a person. And the way you speak to yourselves, especially in private, writes the story you live out in public. Try this. The next time you're alone, look into your eyes in the mirror and just breathe. Don't say anything for a moment. Let yourself be seen. Then speak to yourself as you would to someone you love who's hurting. Tell yourself you're proud. Tell yourself you're learning. Tell yourself it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to still be figuring things out. Replace shame with understanding. Replace pressure with presence. This isn't about pretending to love everything all the time. It's about choosing to respect yourself even when it's hard. It's about breaking the pattern of criticism and choosing curiosity instead. Why am I being so hard on myself today? What do I need that I'm not giving myself? Can I offer myself 5 minutes of kindness instead of an hour of self-punishment? You deserve to feel safe with yourself. And that begins with language. If your inner voice is a bully, of course the world feels unsafe. But if your inner voice becomes a friend, then no matter what happens around you, you have a sanctuary within. Sometimes, mirror talk brings up tears. Let them come. That releases healing. You might cry not because you hate what you see, but because, for the first time, you realize how much you've ignored, mistreated, or dismissed the person in the mirror. And now you're ready to do something different. That's not weakness. That's awakening. It's not vain to love yourself. It's not arrogant to honor your reflection. It's not foolish to speak gently to the image you see. That's the beginning of self-trust. That's how you show yourself you matter. Because for too long, you may have lived as though everyone else's needs came first, as though you had to earn your worth, as though love was something you had to beg for or perform to receive. But now, in this quiet space, with no one watching, you get to choose again. You get to say, I am not perfect, but I am worthy. I may not have everything figured out, but I am enough. I've made mistakes, but I am not my mistakes. I am learning, growing, and deserving of peace. Say it until you believe it. Then say it again. The mirror won't lie to you, but it will repeat what you tell it. So tell it something true. Not the harsh truth soaked in self-hate, the deeper truth. The one that says your softness is strength, your scars are evidence of healing, your dreams are still valid, your presence matters. Say it out loud. Hear yourself speak love into existence. That's not silly. That's sacred. Mirror talk is a daily practice. You won't get it perfect. Some days the voice will crack. Some days it'll sound fake. Some days you'll avoid your own gaze. But keep returning. Keep trying. Keep choosing to meet yourself where you are, not where you wish you were. Over time, the script changes, the tone softens, the relationship deepens. And one day, without fanfare, you'll look into the mirror and smile not because everything's fixed or perfect, but because you finally see yourself as someone worthy of being loved. You'll see the same eyes that have cried and laughed and dreamed. You'll see a soul who's walked through storms and still shows up. You'll see a survivor, a feeler, a creator, a being made of stardust and strength. And you'll say, there you are, I've missed you. Let's be kind to each other from now on. Because the relationship you have with yourself is the one you carry into every other space. And when you honor your reflection, you teach others how to honor you too. Unmasking the true self. We are all born with an authentic self, pure, uninhibited, and whole. But somewhere along the way, as we grow and interact with the world, we begin to wear masks. Some are stitched together from early criticisms, some forged from societal expectations, and others borrowed from people we admire or fear. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the masks become part of us, hiding the parts we believe are not acceptable, not lovable, not enough. Unmasking the true self is a journey that doesn't begin with becoming someone new, but with stripping away everything that you are not. It's about peeling back the layers, listening to the whispers underneath the noise, and remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You don't need to become more to be worthy. You don't need to fix yourself to deserve love. The self that feels broken, confused, anxious, or unsure isn't a version of you to abandon. It's a version that needs gentleness and attention. Real growth begins not in rejection of your current self, but in its embrace. This is where unmasking begins, not with judgment, but with compassion. We put on masks to feel safe. As children, we learn what parts of us get praise and what parts are ignored or punished. We adapt. We present the happy face even when we are sad. We act confident even when we are unsure. We play roles to survive. Over time, these roles become second nature. But deep inside, something aches. That ache is the voice of the real you, longing to breathe, to stretch, to be seen. When you unmask your true self, you don't become someone else. You become more you. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that don't honor your spirit. You stop bending your voice to suit others' ears. You begin to live a life that matches your values, not just your obligations. And the first step is to ask yourself the hard questions. Who am I really when no one is watching? What do I value, not what I was taught to value, but what lights me up inside? What parts of myself have I buried because I thought they weren't acceptable? What dreams did I tuck away because I feared they made me too much? What beliefs about myself am I holding that don't belong to me? It takes courage to look beneath the mask. Sometimes we find grief. Sometimes we find shame. But we also find truth. And truth is freedom. You were never meant to live behind a facade. You were never meant to play small. When you live from your true self, life has a different texture. Your days feel more honest, more grounded, more aligned. Relationships become more fulfilling because they are built on real connection, not performance. Work becomes more purposeful because you are not just showing up, you are showing up as you. This unmasking is not an overnight process. It is a practice, a daily returning, a quiet courage that whispers, "Today I will not pretend." It doesn't mean you shout your truths from the rooftops or rebel against every expectation. It means you stop abandoning yourself in small ways. You say no when something feels wrong. You say yes to what nourishes you. You allow yourself to feel what you feel without apology. You hold your boundaries. You ask for what you need. Slowly, the mask loosens. It's important to recognize that some masks served a purpose. They helped you cope. They protected you. So when you let them go, do so with gratitude. Don't tear them off in anger. Thank them for their service, and then release them. You don't need to be perfect to be real. You don't need to be polished to be powerful. Your truth, in all its rawness, is beautiful. Letting go of the mask also means embracing your complexity. You are not just one thing. You are not just your past, your trauma, your mistakes, or your image. You are joy and pain, strength and softness, clarity and confusion. To be your true self is to hold space for all of it. It's not about being consistent in the eyes of others, it's about being consistent with your soul. As you begin to live more authentically, you may face resistance. Some people will not understand. Some will be uncomfortable with your growth. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every season. Let them go with love and continue onward. You will find people who resonate with your truth. You will find people who see you not the mask, not the performance, but the you underneath. And that kind of connection is worth everything. Sometimes unmasking happens through breakdowns, when life falls apart and you can no longer pretend. Sometimes it happens through quiet moments when you feel something shift inside and you know it's time to be honest. However it happens, trust the timing. Trust your inner wisdom. It knows the way home. Begin by listening. Sit with yourself in silence, not to fix, not to analyze, but to listen. What is your body saying? What is your heart saying? What dreams keep returning, despite your attempts to dismiss them? What yearnings rise when you stop numbing? Your true self speaks softly, but persistently. You don't have to figure everything out. You only need to be willing to hear and to honor what you hear. Let go of the pressure to define yourself in rigid terms. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow your old identities. You are allowed to change your mind. The self is not a destination, it's a journey, a living, breathing process. The more you listen, the clearer your path becomes. And when self-doubt creeps in, as it inevitably will, return to this truth. You are already enough. You don't need to perform to be loved. You don't need to prove to be worthy. You don't need to hustle for your worthiness. You are allowed to just be, and that is more than enough. In this moment, as you read these words, take a breath and let go of who you think you're supposed to be. Feel the relief of releasing the performance. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your breath to deepen. You are safe. You are whole. You are home. You don't have to search for your true self. It's been within you all along. What you're doing now is clearing the way, peeling back the noise, returning to the root, and in that return, you will find peace. Not because life is perfect, but because you are living in alignment with who you truly are. Unmasking the true self is the ultimate act of self-love. It is a rebellion against a world that profits from your self-doubt. It is a reclamation of your right to exist fully, loudly, messily, and joyfully. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are you, and that is more than enough. Your infinite worth. Every journey has its destination, but the most profound journeys are those that circle back to where they began, to the essence of who you are. As we arrive at this final part of our shared exploration, it is time to pause and honor the path you've traveled, the shadows you've faced, the masks you've shed, and the truth you have uncovered. This is the moment to stand fully in the light of your being and recognize the radiance that has always been inside you, waiting patiently to shine. To embrace your infinite worth is to look beyond the surface narratives, beyond the echoes of doubt, beyond the judgments imposed by others, and even yourself. It is to reconnect with a deep knowing that your value is inherent, unchanging, and beyond measure. It is a radiant truth that no circumstance, failure, or flaw can diminish. The worth you seek is not something to be earned, is your birthright. Understanding this truth is a revolutionary act. In a world that constantly measures worth by productivity, appearance, success, or approval, choosing to believe in your intrinsic value is a form of quiet rebellion. You are choosing to affirm that you matter simply because you exist, that you are enough exactly as you are right now. This realization is not about arrogance or self-centeredness. It is about balance. It is about caring for yourself with the same kindness and respect that you offer to those you love. It is about recognizing that your light does not dim in the presence of others' brilliance. Instead, it adds to the collective glow that brightens the world. When you embrace your worth, you naturally create space for others to do the same. The radiance within you is not just metaphorical. It is a lived experience, felt in the alignment of mind, body, and spirit. When you honor yourself, your decisions become clearer, your relationships become richer, and your sense of peace deepens. This inner light guides you through darkness, nourishes your growth, and fuels your resilience. It is the foundation from which all authentic joy and love arise. But embracing your infinite worth also requires courage. It means standing in your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable, or when others resist your glow. It means forgiving yourself for past mistakes and releasing the need to carry guilt as a weight. It means choosing to see your imperfections not as flaws, but as parts of your unique beauty. It means trusting that your journey, with all its twists and turns, has purpose and meaning. To nurture this radiance, begin by cultivating daily practices that affirm your worth. Speak kindly to yourself. Notice your accomplishments, no matter how small. Celebrate your efforts and progress, rather than fixating on perfection. Surround yourself with people who see and honor your true self. Create sacred spaces where you can rest, reflect, and recharge. Engage in activities that bring you joy and connect you to your passions. Mindfulness and presence are powerful allies in this process. When you are fully present, you stop chasing an idealized version of yourself and instead appreciate the vibrant person you are right now. You notice the subtle beauty in your thoughts, emotions, and sensations. You recognize the strength it takes to keep moving forward, to keep loving despite challenges. This awareness deepens your connection to your radiance. Remember, your worth is not dependent on external validation. While appreciation and recognition from others can be uplifting, the truest validation comes from within. When you look in the mirror, do so with gentleness and respect. See yourself as a whole, being flawed, evolving, and infinitely valuable. Let go of comparisons and judgments. Your path is unique, and your worth is not diminished by anyone else's journey. Healing your relationship with yourself often means setting boundaries that protect your energy and honor your needs. Saying no is an act of self-respect. Allowing yourself rest is an act of self-love. Releasing toxic relationships and environments is an act of courage. These boundaries create fertile ground for your radiance to flourish. They signal to yourself and others that you are worthy of respect and kindness. As you move forward, know that self-love is a lifelong practice, not a destination. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when old wounds ache, or when the world feels heavy. On those days, return to your breath, your truth, and your inner light. Remind yourself that you are enough, not because of what you do or have, but because of who you are. This mantra, repeated often and with intention, becomes a shield against negativity and a beacon toward peace. Your infinite worth also invites you to extend love outward. When you are grounded in your own value, your capacity to love others deepens. You give not from a place of need or scarcity, but from abundance and wholeness. You listen with empathy, support with compassion, and connect with authenticity. This ripple effect strengthens not only your relationships but also your community and the world. The power of embracing your infinite worth is transformative. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, from isolation to belonging. You begin to see challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to your value. You cultivate resilience rooted in self-trust rather than external approval. You step into your power with humility and grace. This journey back to yourself reveals the sacred truth that you are a radiant being deserving of all the good life has to offer. You are a source of light that no darkness can extinguish. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. Your love matters. In embracing this, you not only change your own life but inspire others to find their own light. As you close this book and continue your journey, carry this final truth in your heart. You are enough, always have been, always will be. No matter what stories you've been told or what doubts arise, your essence is pure worth. The world needs you to shine as only you can. Step into that light with courage, kindness, and unwavering belief in yourself. Let your radiance be a beacon for others. Let your life be a testament to the power of self-love. And above all, let yourself be free to be imperfect, free to be vulnerable, free to be authentically, beautifully you.